That's why I'm doing this, you see. I must have dropped it. Oh, well, I don't need those notes anyway. The words in the Bible that, I always have a stickler with Westerners is I think I mentioned it in the beginning of the service, in the second service, I believe. I talked about the word the mountains in the Bible. The word mountains in the Bible, most Westerners would identify as a literal mountain. So when you go to the book of Revelation and you read, there is a woman riding on a beast, and the beast has 7 heads. There are also 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Now, to Westerners, that become the Vatican, or it becomes Rome, because Rome sits on 7 hills. So the Vatican is pointed out as the harlot. But may I ask, it says 7 heads. How are these 7 heads? And also it says these mountains are 7 kings. So what do kings rule? Kings don't rule mountains. You have made the allegory literal, and you made the literal allegory. Kings rule kingdoms. So there are 7 kingdoms on which the woman sits. There are also, 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. And if you look at all the allegories in the Bible regarding the usage of the word mountain, you'll find them to be kingdoms. In fact, in Daniel 2, I saw the stone that was cut without hands, smote the image at the feet, and the stone grew to become a great mountain. So the stone is the Messiah. The Messiah becoming a great mountain is becoming a great kingdom, or the kingdom of Christ that fills the whole earth. Pastor's giving me that look, now he approves. Because I forgot to say his kingdom rules the whole world. So his kingdom rules the whole earth. So a mountain is a kingdom. In fact, he said if you have faith of a mustard seed, you can move the mountains. Westerners never thought about what that means. They always think, oh yeah, every time I go to a conference, I ask Americans, what do you think he moves the mountains? If you have faith of a mustard seed, how can you move the mountains? And I always get such generalized answers. You get through your troubles, your turmoils and your tribulations. Another hand raises up, and it's my mother-in-law, it's my our debt problem, my financial problem, Christian finance. All kinds of, but different interpretations here. It's like anything goes in the West. No, he's very specific. If you have faith of a mustard seed, you can change the kingdoms. You can change kingdoms. You can change governments. Okay? Literal. So once you understand that the Bible is not really an allegoric book, it really means business. It means specific things. The mountains bows to Christ when he comes. The mountains bow to you in the Psalms. The rivers flows to you. Rivers don't flow to the Messiah, neither does mountains bow. God will remove the mountains. He doesn't remove mountains. My sheep scattered through the mountains. Sheep don't scatter. The Jews didn't scatter up in the mountains. They went to countries and nations. In fact, Ahmadinejad, in his speech, he says, and Islam will rise over all the mountains. I can share it to you on video. Everybody in the East knows what mountains is. Mountains are kingdoms. Now that we know the mountains are kingdoms, maybe we can go to the Bible and begin to look and revisit the book of Revelation and all these things. But before we visit Revelation, when we study the Bible and we talk about Bible prophecy, we don't begin in Revelation. We begin in the literal parts of Scripture. In other words, the mold that needs to be built in order to come up with a paradigm regarding what God wanted and intended to say, the first thing hermeneutically we do is we go to all the literals that were mentioned in the Bible regarding the ends of times. And then we document all these things, and then we say, okay, what is God telling us literally? Well, I went through some of the verses. Isaiah 19, the Lord comes in a swift cloud coming to fight the country of Egypt. You see, I don't like allegory. I don't like Western ways that everything's generalized. Egypt is not my credit card problems. Egypt is Egypt. Things are going on in Egypt. What's going on in Egypt? You need to start learning what's going on in these countries. Why is Christ fighting these countries? Egypt has Al-Azhar University. Al-Azhar University is the #1 university in the Islamic studies par excellence that graduates Muslim clergy, Muslim scholars throughout the whole Sunni Muslim world. It's huge. Egypt is the country where the Muslim Brotherhood began when the Ottoman Caliphate, the Khilafah, well, new term, sorry, Americans, I gotta explain what Khilafah is. Khilafah is the vicar of Muhammad, the caliphate. As you see, the Pope being the vicar of the Catholic of Christ to the Catholic Church, so is the Khilafah as the vicar of Muhammad on earth. I mentioned before the caliphate was wounded in 1924. Muhammad died. The first Khalifa was Abu Bakr, after him Umar, Uthman, all the way down till the Ottoman Empire seized and was wounded in 1924. The Ottoman Empire encompassed the Roman Empire, took over the Roman Empire, if you will, when the Roman Empire ceased to exist in the West, when the barbarian hordes basically dismantled it in the West. It continued for hundreds of years in the eastern parts of the Roman Empire, called the Byzantium Empire. The Byzantium Empire was in Turkey. That was the Holy Roman Empire, remember? And who took over the Holy Roman Empire? It was the Muslims, Muhammad II. The Muslims with the Caliphate moved into the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire ceased to exist at this point. So that wound wanted to heal itself. In 1928, the Muslim Brotherhood was born in Egypt. And the Muslim Brotherhood began to sprout Islam again, to try to revive it again. They never ceased to try to revive this beast again. Never. They never stopped. The clergy never stopped. They continued. And you have the same thing in Saudi Arabia, what you guys call Wahhabist and that kind of thing. Westerners seem to like the idea of trying to blame the mess on one party always. They try to pick somebody to label and kind of forgive everybody else. So the problem with Islam is the Wahhabists, you know. There's those Wahhabists down there. It's those Muslim Brotherhood, you know. That's all. You know, Islam is a peace-loving religion. Do you know what I meant when I met Wahhabi Islam kind of thing, when I heard of Wahhabi Islam? Do you know where I heard of Wahhabi Islam? When I came to America after 9/11. Wahhabi Islam, what in the world is that? I lived all my life as a Muslim, never heard of Wahhabi Islam. Never heard of it. Islam is Islam. Where in the world does people come up with this Wahhabi Islam? Of course the Wahhabists in Saudi Arabia are fanatic. They've always been fanatic. Before the Wahhabists, before any of these things, before the Salafis. Islam is Islam. All Muslims, whether Shia or Sunni, believe in the coming of the Mahdi, who will usher in 7 years of peace. There will be the last 7 years in the Islam in the world, basically. The last years before God will judge the world. And somehow during those 7 years, the Jews must be liquidated, and the trees and the stones will cry out, there's a Jew hiding behind me, come on Muslim, come and kill him. So your Antichrist basically was our Messiah. Mahdi basically comes back in the spirit of Muhammad. Muhammad said, he will have my spirit. Okay? Now that we talked about basically mountains as being kingdoms, and we can all study the Bible and begin to unlock scripture, that's all you really need. Other things, waters, you know, the woman comes out of the waters. What are waters? Waters, he tells John, multitudes, nations, different tribes and different tongues, different, you know. So this entity of the beast is really ruling from every different tribe and different tongue. Fish in the Bible. Fish is basically followers. Remember, Jesus says, fish. You will be fishers of men. The same thing with Gog, you know. The scales, you know, the fish will come on your scales and God will put a hook in his mouth. Gog, you know. So you see a lot of these stars. Stars are angels. I'll be above the stars of God. I'll be above the angelic host of God. The pride of Satan himself. What else is there? You know, trees. The olive tree is always the Messiah. Why is the olive tree the Messiah? Why did Messiah choose the olives?